Hello there, Reject Nation. It is time for the ultimate Easter egg breakdown from new Rockstars' Eric Voss. Apparently 170 Easter eggs have been discovered now that the digital release for No Way Home is out. There's always going to be more to unpack about this movie. Always.
Decades worth.
Realistically, it's probably the last Spider-Man No Way Home video we do for a little while. 2 days without Spider-Man No Way Home.
What will we ever do with ourselves?
There were weeks where you guys were like, wow, they haven't talked about Spider-Man for weeks. And then 1 week we're like, we're doing a bunch again. And here we are. That's what everyone wants, is to relive 2021 all over again.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and Spider-Man No Way Home is now available in higher resolution. And now that I can actually pause and look at the stuff instead of begging the AMC projectionist to freeze the frame, I know that's you back there, Nicole.
Sure.
Folks, there is so much more hidden in this movie that we just gotta re-break down this film. Some of this will be stuff that I found on my first breakdown on release weekend, which has grown to be my most viewed video ever. Thank you all so much. So to show my gratitude to you and to the talented artists who worked on this film, I have found well over 100 more details. I think my final tally is close to 200 that I am going to present to you in this comprehensive, near shot-by-shot analysis of everything great about Spider-Man No Way Home.
I'll never need to watch this again.
And make it less about my commentary now that we've all seen the film. Okay, over the studio titles, we actually hear Mysterio's audio from the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home.
I managed to send the elemental back to the dimensional rift, but I don't think I'm going to make it off this bridge alive.
In his dying moments, Mysterio maintained the lie of his illusions coming from an interdimensional rift, all to doom Peter Parker, but also, ironically, actual threats coming from dimensional rifts become the actual crisis in this movie's final battle. The Marvel Studios title card has been updated so that on the R, replacing Rocket, is Peter's portal arrival in Endgame now. Just a little tease for the way this movie will bring back other Peters through the same kinds of portals. Far From Home, of course, ended with the credits cutting off Peter's F-bomb.
What the
Here, a car horn censors it.
What the
The scene has been recreated almost exactly, down to the 3 extras behind MJ dressed just like the guys behind her in the 2019 scene.
Wow.
They even gave the dude with the phone wired earbuds just like he had before. Attention to detail.
Those lucky sons of bitches right there. Can you imagine that? You're just a background player. And now you're like, hey, come back to be a co-star.
Yeah. We need you. The script supervisor demands it.
We're even gonna give you a speaking line, my man. How cool is that?
Absolutely.
All those years later. That is nuts.
Them and seriously, the script supervisor deserves all the credit because those are the details they gotta keep the most track of.
Give it up for script supervisors. Woo! Script supervisors.
That's right.
But the main difference, of course, is that MJ now wears the broken Black Dahlia necklace that Peter bought for her in Venice and gave to her in London, to which she said,
Sorry, it's broken.
I actually like it better broken.
MJ knows things can never be perfect. Her mantra is,
Expect disappointment and you will never get disappointed.
and that is why she refuses to let Peter say I love you in order to leave things broken and give him a reason to find her. One onlooker asks,
Just a kid?
a nod to that onlooker on the train in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 in 2004 when Tobey Maguire was unmasked.
He's just a kid.
Just a kid.
That Peter's exposure was met with gratitude, leaving him with faith in humanity, but this Peter's exposure is met with hostility, leaving him more cynical. As they swing through the city, they pass billboards for Rogers the Musical, which we saw in Hawkeye, and will return in Secret Invasion. There are also billboards for Fortnite and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which did a cross-promotional campaign with the film. Its slogan, Electrify Your Journey, of course tying in with Electro. There's also a PlayStation billboard because Sony.
I love that. That's how they get their product placement in there. They want so badly to be a part of the movie itself.
Oh my god.
They're like, you'll see it for like 0.5 seconds if you pay really close attention.
And that equates to thousands of PS5 sales and Audi sales.
These screens show Peter's face with his mask covering half of it, a recurring image that we've seen in the comics. They land on Queensboro Bridge with the nearby Roosevelt Island tramway, the same location as the final showdown in the 2002 film. They drop past Flash. On his phone is a TikTok feed of the Daily Bugle Official, the account hosted by Betty Brant leading up to the film's release. They pop out and front of Del Mar's Deli, now labeled Del Mar's 3, as this is the third film in this trilogy, and we have seen this bodega destroyed at least once. The sign reads, "Best sandwiches in Queens," calling back Mr. Del Mar's line in Homecoming.
Best sandwiches in Queens.
And they're coming out of the sewer, actually, because in Queens, the subway turns into an elevated train, as we see in the background. John Watts leaves
that's
the
a
camera on
detail.
a close-up of the manhole cover, and since throughout these opening minutes we're getting a ton of shout-outs to the past eras, this has gotta be a callback to the closing shot of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. They land out
That
in
is
the
cool.
bedroom. Oh my god, to help her in, Peter accidentally grabs her butt and then immediately says, "I'm sorry, Aunt May."
I never noticed that.
Pick that up.
Back to May walking in on Peter shirtless with Ned in Homecoming. MJ hands Peter his "I survived my trip to NYC" shirt that he wore in Homecoming. Also in this apartment is a poster for the Feast fundraiser where Spider-Man made his appearance in Far From Home. John Watts directed the sequence in one 2-minute long take to heighten
2 minutes long.
in which Tom Holland and Zendaya impressively scramble around this place. When Peter thwips the first shade shut, the animators made sure to show that webbing shooting out of his arm in his reflection in the cabinet. And when the last shade shoots back up, it looks like Tom might actually improvise webbing it shut in order to keep it down.
I think what's so cool about that one shot too is that not only does it emphasize the comedic hijinks, but it really emphasizes the tension as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you get the best of both worlds, the comedy plus the suspense. You're just wrapped in this beautiful blanket, this tortilla of enjoyment. Is that right, Watson?
This tortilla, yeah.
Is that right, Watson?
Yeah,
Or
Watson
Copper
loves
or
Spider-Man.
Todd or whichever.
All the cats love Spider-Man.
Cats. There's a lot of cats here. You got a lot of cats.
J. Jonah Jameson's graphic shows protester signs calling for Peter to be locked up, another calling him a criminal with devil horns. This awkward photo of Peter is actually his
I'm a criminal.
photo that we saw in the Far From Home deleted scene. And then over on the far right is a sign reading, "It was better when you were blipped." And J. Jonah's home studio is on the wall with
cold.
a Trio of Terror front page, as well as an Us Weekly that compares MJ to Liz Allen,
Holy
using the photo of
shit.
her from the academic decathlon in DC and Homecoming. Another headline reports Mysterio douses Hydro Man in Venice because in Far From Home, they initially thought the elemental in Venice was the longtime Spidey villain Hydro Man Morris Bench.
God damn, it's videos like this that remind you why new Rockstars was amazing.
Right.
Finding these production design details that otherwise would have never been celebrated properly. 99.9% of people are not going to notice this at all. And you have to have that amazing CIA technology to go zoom, enhance, in order to understand what it is you're dealing with.
Somewhere out there, a set dresser is watching this video with a single tear rolling down their face.
With Andrea Bocelli's Time to Say Goodbye.
Jameson also has some spare bottles of his supplements throughout the place, showing how his whole new fancy studio, the whole business, was really paid for by those pills. The Daily News front page has photoshopped Peter, MJ, and Ned using their yearbook photos. And for the first time, we see MJ's last name, Watson, making Michelle Jones Watson the variant of Mary Jane Watson of this universe. Time magazine calls Peter Iron Man Jr. How did a reckless teenager become Tony Stark's heir apparent? All this echoing the same sentiments of Team Mysterio from Far From Home, as if this could have been a headline that they scripted for the media. Peter gets coated in green paint. This is actually from a deleted scene with Tom Holland's brother, Harry Holland. And you'll notice the graffiti behind Peter reads Ramos for Umberto.
Matt Ramos. Oh,
Spider-Man comic artist who partnered with Dan Slott. International news is a ticker reporting Interpol issues arrest warrant for Czech Republic's Night Monkey, showing how European police are
Nice.
still unsure if Spider-Man and Night Monkey from Far From Home are the same person.
like the narrative that Spider-Man protects New York, but sometimes Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if he ever gets in trouble again, he can always fall back on that Night Monkey persona, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But then he would need the Night Monkey outfit from the Avengers people.
That's right. No one would know who he is. Sorry, Europe.
Sorry, Europe, you're screwed. You don't have Spider-Man anymore. All you got is the ability to walk around naked or whatever it is you freaks do. Freaks! We're American!
And then political turmoil continues in New Asgard, suggesting that King Valkyrie's rule over that colony is struggling, something we could see more of in Love and Thunder. The B-roll they show of Tower Bridge shows none of the drones in the open air or Spider-Man's heroics, but just the moments when he and Mysterio were obscured in the tower walkway as Peter wrecked those drones. drones, showing more of Team Mysterio's manipulations. Because if they showed Peter fighting those drones, that would have hurt the narrative that Team Mysterio wanted out there, that it was Peter controlling the drones.
Clever.
Agent Cleary, name seen on his badge, is a nod to Agent Albert Cleary, the DODC comptroller in the comics. Photographs are taken of a photo of Ned and MJ from Homecoming, as well as Peter's Iron Spider charging point, all these cables plugged into one outlet. But you'll notice the armor itself is missing. We see Tony's Edith glasses from Far From Home, that case just left open, showing how Peter must see this every day as a reminder of Tony. And it's on a stack of PSP.
Not tied at all.
He's dumpster diving for old consoles and stuff. Now, during the interrogation, Peter wears his "the physics are theoretical, but the fun is real" shirt that he wore when Tony dropped him off back home in Homecoming. Agent Cleary says,
Nick Fury has been off planet for the last year.
What?
yes, Nick Fury in Far From Home was actually the Skrull Talos, a storyline that we're probably gonna revisit in Secret Invasion. Now I'm wondering if Cleary, by the fact that he knows this, could also be a Skrull. Cleary's able to get Ned to confess by tricking him into correcting his misstatement.
When MJ told you that Peter was Spider-Man,
Whoa.
what's up?
I knew way before MJ did. I was Spider-Man's guy in the chair.
And a fun detail here, compared to MJ's observation room that you see in the reflection, Ned's room has way more agents watching, as they all know this is a suspect who's gonna squeal. Now the news also
good detail.
that was set in 1999 when he dressed like Travolta in Pulp Fiction. And then Matt Murdock enters, to which we will all applaud with a standing O that he deserves.
Did you guys hear that story about how Charlie Cox snuck into a theater with his wife to watch Spider-Man No Way Home and no one clapped?
Everyone started
on screen?
booing him.
Everyone started booing,
throwing
and they said,
popcorn at the
Netflix
screen."
isn't canon!
Get this out of my MCU!
Movies ruined, half the people left the theater. Story was crazy.
Ben Affleck came in and punched Charlie Cox in the face.
That's great. Thank you. Well, I have some good news for you. I don't believe any of the charges are...
But I love how the dialogue here is a total meta commentary on the insanity of this moment. Peter says, what is happening? Because indeed, Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock in the MCU does raise a lot of questions about the canonicity of all the Netflix Marvel series. And Charlie's first words are, that's great, thank you. Because this is simply great. And I'm sure Charlie is pretty grateful for it.
Or he was just wrapping up a folk call and they wanted to cut to the chase a little quicker in your 2.5-hour Spider-Man movie.
Nope, Charlie Cox improvised that exchange, all based on personal experience.
What he was doing was, imagine on the other line was Kevin Feige calling him being like, do you want to be back in the MCU? That's great, thank you.
Daredevil reboot, sure.
Now, Jon Favreau, if you remember, played Foggy Nelson in the 2003 Ben Affleck Daredevil, which Charlie Cox said he and Favreau tried to reference in a line that got cut.
And there was a line, I think it got cut, I don't think it made it in the final thing, but there was a line where he was trying to remember something that happened, and he said, yeah, I can't remember what happened, I'm a little foggy about that.
Behind Peter is another newspaper that we saw on Jameson's wall, Web of Destruction, showing Peter's damage at the Staten Island Ferry, and the Washington Monument in Homecoming, and Tower Bridge in Far From Home. But Matt Murdock proves he does have his Daredevil reflexes.
Okay.
But I love how Peter's hand was already ready there to catch that brick because he has spider sense. And on that brick, the person misspelled the word believe, as if refusing to write the word lie in front of Mysterio. They move into Happy's condo.
Alarm system deactivated.
Yeah, notice how May punches in the right code on her first try, probably because Happy's passcode was something like 1234. Pretty sad lapse in security that we learned in Far From Home.
What's your password?
Password.
No, what is your password?
Password. The word. Spelled out password.
You're the head of security and your password is password?
I don't feel good about it either.
We see several of Happy's security badges, calling back him telling everyone
Change
to wear
your
the badges in Iron Man 3, but he actually might have swiped a bunch on his way out, knowing that his clearance was going to be revoked, so he could have used someone else's badge to steal all that Stark tech. Notice how Peter carries all 5 of those heavy suitcases, just a cool little detail showing how strong the kid is.
That is cool.
Of course, as the dummy
I like that.
from the Iron Man films that we saw him bickering with in Homecoming.
Good, yes. Yeah, no, put that down. That's worth more than you or me.
But now he clearly just misses Tony. You can also see his boxing mask and gloves on the table.
From Iron Man 2.
We saw in Iron Man 2. Now, in the credits of this movie, they shout out Downton Abbey, which is a callback to him loving Downton Abbey in Iron Man 3. But folks, you never see it in the movie. In our previous breakdown, we just pointed to some random frame on the shelf saying that was Downton Abbey, but it wasn't. So anyone else who has that in their video just clearly watched ours and stole it from us. Anyway,
Shut all out.
Happy. There's actually another one later in the laundry area. Aww, but now that Stark Industries was shut down, she'll be stealing her crayons from Applebee's like we did. And in the background, we hear the news.
You know, put the Captain America shield on the Statue of Liberty? Nah, that's so ridiculous. Leave the Statue of Liberty alone.
Yeah, details throughout this movie foreshadow the Statue of Liberty final act and how most people in New York are against putting Cap's shield on that statue.
Wait a minute. Do you remember that line?
No, I mean, that must have been like really enhanced audio or something like that.
Or is that like one thing they threw in there? I think they put some stuff in there.
Oh, maybe. Dang, is that the new phase we're headed to? Is every time the movie gets released, there's going to be more, it's like a reverse George Lucas scenario where they add more interesting things?
Because, yeah, that was clean footage. And that enhancement sounded natural.
Yeah.
Wow. That line actually might have quickly cleared some stuff up that I was never confused on and just accepted as, yeah, they probably put the shield up there.
The shield falling is what almost causes MJ to fall to her death, and it's literally on that shield where Peter almost makes his worst decision. So really, the people in New York were right from the get-go. This shield being added to the statue's bad news. Subtle detail that's pretty hard to spot.
Hey, you son of a bitch.
Also boosted the Iron Man painting in the style of the Obama Hope poster from Iron Man 2.
Oh,
and
sweet.
on the nighttime security monitor, you can also see that he swiped the recreation of the Cap's shield that Tony and Coulson had in that movie. When they FaceTime, MJ's reading Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She always reads celebrated progressive authors. And on her wall is that photo of her and Ned from Homecoming, also a photo that she took of pigeons in Venice and Far From Home, and the drawings she drew of Peter and Coach Wilson in Homecoming.
Oh, I know. I just like coming here to sketch people in crisis. It's you.
Betty Brant says,
Go get him, Tiger.
which of course is Mary Jane's catchphrase for Peter in the comics and in the 2004 film.
Go get him, Tiger.
A supporter screams,
MJ, we love you. MJ, are you gonna have this spider, baby?
this is Darnell Apley, an actor and Zendaya's longtime assistant. Also among that shouting we hear, ah yes, Zach Cherry's do a flip guy returned for a vocal cameo after we saw him in Homecoming.
Okay, Spider.
You hear her say do a flip?
Dang.
And after he returned,
I don't think I caught that the first time.
Bus in Shang-Chi.
It's your boy Clev coming at you live on the bus.
Shang-Chi, do a flip!
I did martial arts as a youth, so I'm gonna try and grade this fight as we're going.
Flash Thompson shows off his memoir Flashpoint. Its title, a nod to the DC Comics major crossover event. Inside we see the mural of scientists, how it's been expanded from just Howard Stark in previous films, and all the other famous real-world scientists to include
Tucci.
Abraham Erskine, as well as Hank Pym. And then if you look closely,
Oh, that is Hank Pym.
George Washington Carver's head, a shrunken Ant-Man with a nearby Pym particle vial. Mr. Harrington's
Good for Ant-Man.
He's a scientist, sure.
clearly photoshopped himself into, but also on that yearbook page under Chess Club is a photo of that blip girl, Sue Lorman, mentioned in Far From Home, though it looks like she's given a different name here. Flash's photo is
Wow, good catch.
taken outside, so fancy. And then all the cards in this display actually list famous Spider-Man comics writers. Peter Unmasked by J. M. Straczynski. That's a nod to J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote the Peter Unmasked issue of the Civil War comics. Also wrote the famous One More Day storyline that this is based on. T. DeFalco for Tom DeFalco. K. Busiek for Kurt Busiek. And P. David for Peter David. All of them amazing Spider-Man comics writers. As Peter walks down that
This Spider-Man movie loves Spider-Man.
Right, it's a black and white film. Now I asked people on Twitter if they could identify this. Matthew on Twitter pointed out that this is the same cafeteria from the movie Love, Simon. And although this scene is not from Love, Simon, that movie did shoot in the same Atlanta high school as John Watts shot these Spider-Man movies. So this is actually a side short film that John Watts shot on location.
Oh, cool.
Here in this school. Because before he directed the Spider-Man movie, he worked with a short film group called Waverly Flams. All those shorts you can still find on YouTube. Now on the roof, graffiti shows Ditko for Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko. You can actually see that same
catch the Ditko
on the Feast truck throughout the movie.
But not that one.
New York Post reads, Peter Parker and his spider minions, his hypnotic spider senses seduced Joan Watson. Now while Peter does not really have hypnosis powers, this line does foreshadow how in this movie, the memory spell wipes the memory and gaslights MJ. So in a way that ends up happening. As Peter leans over to kiss MJ,
Yes, it does.
Peter, you gaslight.
As Peter gets his college rejection letters, Dummy reassembles the Lego Death Star set that Peter and Ned worked on in Homecoming, but then at the end, Dummy breaks it like Ned did in that movie. This parallels the way the actual Death Star was destroyed twice in the first and the third movies of the Star Wars trilogy.
I love that parallel. That just makes me so happy.
I think that's my favorite use of all the other brands we owned by Disney.
When I saw, hey, it's like when Ned dropped it. But I love the idea of John Watts being like, we can also parallel the Star Wars trilogy. with this Death Star moment.
Hey, some fan out there came specifically for this.
This movie's so deep.
As Peter swoops down to MJ's shop, his small silhouette in the sky shows that he was in his Iron Spider suit at first, and then the nanobots retracted on its descent. But I guess he was still holding that acceptance letter all the while, so the bots had to like retract around his pinched fingers. I don't know. But when he lands, you can see Mysterio decals on both the lamppost and on the nearby wall, and there is another banner for that Statue of Liberty renovation. As Peter approaches the Sanctum Sanctorum, on the mailbox on the right is a graffiti named Romita for John Romita, another Spider-Man comics writer. And then on the inside, one of the apprentices is played by Emily Fong, longtime Marvel Studios production employee. Wong portals in from upstairs. You can actually see the mechanical Crimson Bands of Sidorak that Strange tossed on Caecilius hanging on the wall there. Wong, I guess, just didn't feel like carrying his luggage downstairs. Makes sense, I would use sling rings for that too. Now, Strange's mug reads, "Oh, for fuck's sake." And now that Multiverse of Madness is bringing in Fox X-Men leader Patrick Stewart, Professor X, it truly is for Fox's sake that Strange's world is heating up. He also wears a hoodie of his alma mater, Columbia, probably rubbing it in for Peter for getting rejected from all these elite schools, and showing how Strange stays connected with his university and can just talk to them, something Peter failed to even consider trying. Peter says,
"It's not about me. I mean, this is really hurting a lot of people."
Peter actually unknowingly repeats the Ancient One's core lesson to Strange in the 2016 film.
It's not about you.
And that is what makes Strange want to help Peter. Wong warns Strange about his memory wipe spell called the Runes of Koth Kal.
That spell travels the dark borders between known and unknown reality. It's too dangerous.
We've used it for a lot less. Do you remember the full moon party at Camertage?
No.
Exactly.
Indicating Strange has used this dangerous reality warping spell before, one of many violations that probably led to the crisis of Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, you reckless bastard.
Which might be his way of saying, don't include me in the memory wipe spell so that I can remember Peter. And you can see behind Wong is the Camertage courtyard that he's returning to. Now, Peter Parker seeking Dr. Strange's help this way to make everyone forget that he's Spider-Man is a reference to the One More Day storyline, which actually ends in a similar place, with MJ and Peter's best friend forgetting that he is Spider-Man. After asking Strange to exclude MJ from the spell, he then remembers Ned.
Oh my God, Ned. Ned.
What is a Ned?
Yeah, Strange then pulls out a chunk of the magic to observe Ned closely, something he doesn't do for the others. Maybe an indicator that Ned has the hidden sorcerer abilities and Strange can now see it here.
I said that in the last breakdown you did.
Dude, New Rockstars has been watching your video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
guy in the chair.
The smart one here. I'm the one who knows it all.
You're the new rock star.
An intelligent being living amongst ordinary humans. Because I stopped the video last reaction to point that out. Something that I pointed out that a lot of other people pointed out too.
No. You originated it though.
I originated. I'm the first
no
one
one else
ever
saw
to point it out.
Yeah. In fact, during our first viewing of the film, you stopped and you were like, "It's Ned. He just gave him the powers just then."
It has magic. You can tell by how Doctor Strange did. Oh my God, the spell's been cast. We missed all the dialogue.
What's going on right now?
What's going on? We missed an important piece of information. I was too busy telling you my theory.
And that's how all our reviews get made.
We're just saying on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, let's just echo with that. We're good.
Now, when the Sanctum shakes, knocks over an artifact in the lobby, this is the same delicate, stupid thing that Thor knocks over in Ragnarok. Then Peter shouts,
"Basically, everyone that knew that I was Spider-Man before should still know!"
And the moment Peter gives us our rule by which the multiverse men cross over, right before Strange sees the purple silhouette of the Lizard, the villain that Strange fights
cool.
over Peter's shoulder is one of those other villains, a hulking figure. At first I thought Sandman, but based on the muscle definition, I think this is actually Venom, who also crossed over into the MCU only briefly during this event. And behind Lizard, you can start to see glowing dots for dozens more. Just a hint right here early in the movie that beyond these nearer crossovers are even more multiversal threats. Strange says,
You changed my spell 6 times.
5 times.
They disagree, but Peter asks Strange to exclude MJ and Ned and May and Happy and then everyone who knew before. That's 5. So Strange actually might have secretly adjusted the spell a 6th time to exclude himself and Wong, because he loves Peter so much.
You know what also could have happened? He could have been so flustered by the situation that he didn't even properly count it. It was instead thinking in anger and just had a little bit of a slip up and thought.
I don't know, man. That just doesn't seem plausible whatsoever. Whatsoever. ever.
Later, as Peter glides down to the bridge, I like how he used his wingsuit webbing again. It retracts here, but his heads-up display reads Edith offline, since the DODC shut down the whole Edith network, which is also why the voice has changed now. Now, when he retracts his armor, his suit underneath is wrinkled. I just love that little detail reflecting how it was crammed up against his body. Actually, later in this day, you can see how his blue button-up is also super wrinkled. Another cool detail, I like how the
He needs to iron his clothes.
shadow on the side of the car just to match his silhouette.
Oh,
Peter
dope.
wow.
Love it. Love it.
SIDP. And as we were clued in by the Enneagram book we saw in Peter's bedroom earlier, to
Spideys.
rearrange these, you get the word
Spideys.
Spideys, plural, a clue for the multiple Spideys in this movie. The MIT woman's car has the tag 63A5M3, a nod to the amazing Spider-Man number 3 in 1963, the comic debut of Doc Ock, who makes his MCU debut in this scene. Footage that the girl in the car watches on her tablet is actually a delayed live feed from the Daily Bugle helicopter. You can see Peter waving at the camera on the tablet.
That is a great detail.
Numbered 1228, a nod to Stan Lee's birthday of December 28th, 1922. After Peter's rambling speech, the MIT woman responds,
"You didn't rehearse that, did you, Peter?"
Yeah, it is this failure that later leads Peter to script out and rehearse what he wants to say to MJ in the final scene. Doc Ock is revealed.
Hi there, Peter. Hello there, Peter.
Hola, Pedro.
Hello, Peter.
Danny Elfman's Doc Ock theme from 2004. You can see how his claws glow red. This is how that film indicated when the claws were in control. And he asks,
"What have you done with my machine?"
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. What machine?
"The power of the sun in the palm of my hand."
calling back his line from that film.
"The power of the sun in the palm of my hand."
When Doc Ock lifts the concrete cylinder over him, I love how John Watts briefly frames him directly down the barrel of that cylinder. Really cool shot composition there. And I like how Peter gradually learns
It's like a
to
Bond
combat
movie.
Doc Ock as the fight progresses. Like he webs down one of his claws, and then right after, he webs a second claw to the car door to try to slow him down. Now, really cool detail here. As Peter suspends the SUV over the tracks,
I heard that fight was originally much, much longer, and that there was some like previs effects that involved Doc Ock and Goblin clashing at first.
Oh, that would have been
actually
cool to
fighting.
See. Maybe they'll show like a deleted previs, you know, when they show like here's the storyboards of what it was supposed to. It's not full deleted scene.
Have I set you up for some good pause react commentary?
Absolutely.
I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
I think you nailed it there.
I was like, oh, got it. Alley-oop.
Yeah,
Dunk.
boom. Maybe they'll show that to us.
Maybe.
Down the road.
It would be cool. I felt like that fight could have gone on longer.
Yeah, it was too short.
The movie's too short.
Movie's too short. Necessary pausing. We justified the video.
Woo!
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you clicked on?
in a wide shot of that bridge, you can see the name Andrew graffitied on the bridge column. I'm pretty sure Tobey and Andrew's names appear everywhere in this movie, folks.
Really?
Then in a brief shot back on the bridge, another cool detail no one else I think has spotted.
cool.
The license plate reads 6306 ASM for the Amazing Spider-Man number 6 in 1963. That was the debut of Kirk Connors the Lizard, whom Dr. Strange is dealing with at this moment in the sewers. Doc Ock absorbs Peter's nanotech, something that he's able to do thanks to Oscorp's nanotechnology.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
I read all your research on nanotechnology. Really brilliant.
I'd like to thank Harry Osborn and Oscorp Industries for providing it.
That taught me so much. That taught me so much right there that it was set up in the previous films. And it totally flew over my head. I was like, isn't that a coinky-dink? That is tentacles would just meld with the nanotechnology like that.
Yeah, he
Peter doesn't have to do anything.
He thought ahead. He was like, if I ever encounter nanotech, I better be able to absorb that very quick. But no, it's neat to see that actually is in line.
His tentacles are imbued with nanotechnology. I forgot about that. I thought it was just for the tritium.
I thought so too, but hey, maybe he just always kept it on hand or something.
I don't know. Eric, you're always right.
There's connective tissue enough.
And when Doc Ock tries to stab him, Peter's nanotech shifts from his helmet to his chest, and they mixed in a little ping sound effect, so we know Doc Ock didn't stab him, just skewered his necktie. Peter's able to pair his OS with Doc Ock's arms since Doc Ock's arms are controlled via neural link.
These smart arms are controlled by my brain through a neural link. Nanowires feed directly into my cerebellum.
And auto
No, it said nano. Forgot about it.
He's got nano in his body.
I'll call back to 2004.
All right, we're both idiots.
To me now.
Now, in the Undercroft, there are actually a total of 6 cells, eventually filled by the 5 multiverse men of this movie, plus one more that is filled by the tree that Peter accidentally catches. 6 means that Strange anticipated catching Venom as well. And you can see how Strange's face is scratched now since he had just fought the lizard. Doc Ock asks,
what is this, a birthday party?
Calling back Tony Stark, referencing Strange's Jimmy Kimmel bit when they first met.
What is your job exactly besides making balloon animals?
Around the thawing sanctum, you can see various pages from spell books have been pinned up on lamps to dry out. Never a good idea to rip out pages from spell books, folks. Downstairs is a creepy doll that turns to
They know what they're
on
doing.
MJ's TikTok is a cosplayer dressed as a green elf, looking just like Tom Holland's character in Pixar's Onward.
Oh, shit. Best Easter egg.
Peter tracks down Electro and Sandman helping Peter because they were on good terms at the end of the 2007 film. Now, one shot shows Peter pulling together multiple strands to beat Electro, mirrored from a shot of Andrew Garfield doing this to beat Electro in the 2014 film. Now, when Electro and Sandman get trapped in the cells, in the foreground, you can see the control panel showing 5 lit up icons for each cell. The 5th one lit up for the tree. There is a 6th unlit button for the cell that will soon be occupied by Norman. I'm telling you, one of these cells was going to be for Venom.
I mean, I know that there was a deleted scene that they didn't do with Venom that was supposed to come into the finale, but I do wonder if like something that was going on in the world, some virus that was spreading.
Can't think of anything.
Might have caused issues with that actually happening, right?
I don't know,
That's probably
man.
the best conclusion you could draw.
I guess so. That's probably the only thing I could think of.
All the parameters they were able to work around. Not that one.
Gotta keep Tom Hardy healthy.
Not that one.
Gotta keep him sit. Protect Tom Hardy.
I think it's because this was the first ever anti-vax set.
Yes.
And Tom Hardy was like, I'm not going on your set unless everyone's vaccinated.
Eddie, we need to get our Pfizer up. I will not eat Mrs. Chen until she gets her booster.
Norman Osborn shatters his goblin mask. The framing in the alley matches the framing of Tobey Peter leaving his suit behind in the 2004 film, but in both cases, those characters get dragged back into the game. But it is interesting to note that Goblin goes straight for Aunt May, because assuming he was transported from the Raimi-verse right after learning Peter was Spider-Man at Thanksgiving, sometime around that scene when he similarly cowered in front of the mask in his home, his next move there was to go for the heart, which in that movie was also Aunt May. The Feast billboard tagged with Mysterio was right actually is a word bubble that says, meet Queen's own Spider-Man.
I don't know about you guys. Did you notice it?
Oh, you mean the big graffiti of him with the Mysterio on his head? Or maybe it was just a nope anti-Spider-Man. I definitely noticed whatever it is you're talking about, though.
To me, that looks like the symbol from the X-Men.
It does? And they've already referenced For Fuck's Sake once.
I'm telling you, Voss just watches our reactions and he's gonna put this in his follow-up video.
Right, I found one more detail, whole breakdown.
That does not mean stop or cancel this man. That's clearly an X-Men logo.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to deny that. Circle and an X, it's pretty simple.
In fact, that's why a lot of people didn't attend Xavier School for the Gifted, because the X symbols everywhere confused the shit out of you. This is not a welcoming environment.
Inside, Norman wears a green coat and purple sweats, his colors in the comics, but also this is stuff he clearly got from the donation bin, meaning that he walked into this facility wearing his goblin suit, but Aunt May still wanted to help him. He says,
someone's living in my house. Oscorp doesn't exist.
Yes, Oscorp does not exist in the MCU, making it likelier that Peter's spider bite might have come from Stark Tech. I made a whole video about that, check it out. Aunt May, meanwhile, is wearing a blue jumpsuit with a red sash. Throughout this movie, she's almost always wearing Spider-Man's red and blue colors. Goblin steals donuts in the background, signaling he's still in his shifty goblin survival mode, actually. And Peter says,
he's taking donuts.
Not your problem.
Calling back Tobey's line in the 2002 film that led to Uncle Ben's death.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
J. Jonah Jameson's Chiron reads, why does Spider-Man hate national landmarks? Showing the Washington Monument and the Tower Bridge. Now, if you look closely, you can see that police truck actually used to be for the Forest Hills Moving Company. Forest Hills, Queens, is historically Peter Parker's neighborhood. Strange shows them the Machina di Cadavus, its name coming from the crystal of Cadavus in the comics, used to try to resurrect the dead in a Strange and Spider-Man team-up issue. In this case, it will doom these men to their deaths to make them literal cadavers. Strange pushes Peter's soul out of his body, but Peter's able to use his spider sense to control his limbs, waving wavy lines stretch out from his head, which is how his spider sense looks in the comics and in animation.
love that.
I also love the detail
Love
that his
that.
astral soul's shoes are untied, just showing Peter's inner hot mess nature. Strange throws a cloak of levitation around Peter, giving us the caped Spider-Man that we saw in the What If comics and in episode 5 of What If. Now on the newsstand is a People magazine interview with Liz Allen from Homecoming. He's a liar, which I assume is a defense piece for her father, Adrian Toomes, since Peter got him arrested. Something maybe we could revisit in Morbius. But I like how the subhead
Probably
reads
not.
Liz Allen's
Definitely.
intimate past with Parker. Despite these two never actually kissed in Homecoming, it was in the trailer, but not in the final cut of the movie. So really, this whole article is a distortion. In the mirror dimension, Peter tumbles down the High Line of Manhattan, and he passes a billboard showing a T-Rex skeleton. That's an interesting parallel to Strange's coming multiverse tumble past an actual T-Rex. On the train, Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto briefly opens and illuminates, showing that this artifact still has some power beyond being a mere time-stone fanny pack, something else that we will see in Multiverse Madness. Peter uses the geometry of Archimedean spirals to string up Strange shortly after Strange mentioned the grand calculus of the multiverse, geometry versus calculus, just showing how Peter used the simpler math to defeat his overthinking rival.
Ow.
Norman says the line,
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Peter and Ned do their handshake from Homecoming, but now Ned produces a spark out of that sling ring. He's a sorcerer. Peter takes them all into Happy's condo. Actually, a deleted scene would have shown them in the elevator together. Bummed we missed out on that. On the way in, we see them on the security monitor. Electro causes some distortion on the feed, and then he uses his hand to zap the TV on, where we see a news poll on that Statue of Liberty renovation showing 67% of New Yorkers disapprove of it.
Love how there's this whole like subplot about that damn shield being built there.
I'm against it personally.
Personally, I think it ruins a historical landmark.
How do the French feel about that?
Who cares what the French think? America owns it now.
That's true. They get Night Monkey. That's enough for them. I'm surprised so many New Yorkers did not approve of that, though. I'm actually, as a detail, like the fact that everything about that has been people being opposed to it is actually a surprise. I feel like people would be down for a Captain America shield.
But Falcon's now Captain America.
That's true.
Black Falcon, as
Black
they call him
Falcon,
properly in
Black,
the show.
Black
right?
Cap, Black Captain America. They need to put a black shield on the...
I think we got the right messages.
Definitely.
Falcon and Winter
New Yorkers are racist.
Yeah, but we're not.
But not us.
We just make jokes. Perpetuating the racism.
Black jokes.
On the wall in Happy's back room is the name Slott, or Dan Slott, another big Spider-Man comics writer. That Stark Fabricator is the same kind of machine that Peter used to 3D print his new suit on the jet in Far From Home, and it is powered by the specific era of the arc reactor in Iron Man 2 when it had that triangular inlay. Tony Stark later replaced this with new versions, showing why these old ones would be stored. May and Doc Ock briefly connect in the kitchen, a nod to them getting married at one point in the comics. Yup, that happened.
What?
Do it.
Morgan Stark, reminding him of his daughter Penny, who would be around the same age. Peter plugs in the new inhibitor chip to Doc Ock. The claw lights go from red to white as they did in the 2004 film to indicate Otto regaining control. And notice on the Fabricator, Peter created profiles for each of his patients: C. Connors, M. Dillon, N. Osborn, but only Max's cure is listed as complete, since as we see later when May tries to plug Norman with the antidote, it does not work. Otto chats with Norman.
How does it feel, Norman? You're about to become whole again. No more darker half. Just you.
Just me.
Yes, Defoe uses his darker Goblin voice there, teasing the Goblin is about to make his move. Also, notice as he turns around, he is suddenly sweating bullets, despite not sweating that much seconds before this.
Yeah, I gotta tell you guys, to this day when I see this footage, it blows my mind. I mean, we gotta meet Willem Dafoe at the premiere. Thanks to Coy Jandreau, who always wants a shout out whenever we mention that. Seeing him up close, he looks way older.
He does. He does.
He looks significantly older.
Yeah, I don't want to. I was like, shake a hand, but I don't want to break you.
Yeah, I'm like, you look so non-threatening in real life.
You look so sweet.
Do you need me to hold your hand?
You need help across the road, my dude. I'm surprised you volunteered for all those stunts. The camera adds like 6 inches to your height as well as whatever weight it puts on you.
It looks great. All right, guys, you're gonna see some cats coming in and out of here for a while because they're hungry.
Peter's spider sense activates again. Like we saw on the bridge, we get another great dolly zoom camera move. Now behind him on the left here is actually Howard Stark's Expo bottle from Iron Man 2, but the first person Peter passes in his trance is Norman, the source of the danger. The camera only pulls away from Peter when May enters the frame, and she's burning sage. And she says, "What is it, Peter?" So this whole sequence starts with Norman.
Cleanse the space.
With May.
Sage doesn't work.
Hand just slightly begins to raise to wed Norman, but only goes back down when Sandman asks what's happening, distracting Peter over on the the right, and in that moment of distraction, Norman moves across the room to Dummy, which even Doc Ock views as suspicious based off his expression. After Peter webs him, Goblin reveals himself.
These are not curses, they're gifts.
Gifts and curses, a callback to the 2002 film line.
This is my gift, my curse.
Also, notice how Defoe now shows the gap in his teeth, which he did not have when he smiled before. Because in the 2002 film, Willem Dafoe wore veneers as Norman Osborn, but shifted to his normal teeth when he transformed into Goblin.
Really?
I always noticed his teeth in that scene, but
I'd never do that.
Yes, that should help you keep a low profile.
And
That
Goblin
is crazy.
smiles more and more as Peter punches him, showing how each hit makes him stronger and crazier. So Goblin hits May with his glider and bombs the place. On his way out, he slices the Daily Bugle van telecom tower, which actually does Jameson a favor because in his really shitty broadcast after this incident, he's able to lie and say that this was all Spider-Man's doing, not Goblin's. And then May drops the big adage.
And with great power, there must also come
more responsibility. Great responsibility. Damn it.
You got a lot to keep track of with your powers.
There must also come from Amazing Fantasy 15 when Stan Lee spoke at his exposition. You can actually see this quote on Marissa Tomei's title card in the closing credits. And as she dies, Peter says,
"Okay, it's just me and you."
Calling back when May said this to Peter in Homecoming.
Just lay it out. It's just me and you.
Which I read as May referring to Ben's recent death. It was just the two of them then and just the two of them now. Now in Ned's Nana's house, they also have that photo of Ned and MJ from Homecoming, showing how all three of these friends had a different copy of this. And we see it now because Ned and MJ really just want to be with Peter. I think all this was intended to be a Back to the Future photo style prop to show how these two did have a version of their life without Peter in it. Now Lola also has a sewing machine, but just to be clear, this is a different sewing machine than the one Peter has at the end of the film.
We don't know that.
He stole it.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
I've seen Heavy Spoilers thumbnail.
Yeah. It's all coming down to that sewing machine.
It's or he swapped it out with something else. It's the same sewing machine.
There's
that
only
Parker's
one.
a thief.
Yeah. Stealing from old ladies.
I'm still not over that teeth thing. That is crazy. I never do that.
That is a crazy little detail that is now endured for like 20 odd more years.
All I'm gonna do watch this performance now is look at his teeth.
Look at when are his teeth regular? When are his teeth now noticeably perfect?
It's like a dog showing its fangs.
It does make his face look a little different though now that he points it out.
Yeah. It's like that's how he gets a goblin face with his natural teeth.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man enters the film.
String theory, multidimensional reality, and matter displacement. All real?
Interracial friends?
Yeah.
What's under there is actually James Horner's Amazing Spider-Man theme. I just love the meta wordplay between Andrew and MJ.
Why do I need to crawl around?
Because this is not enough.
This is plenty.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It is.
No.
Yeah, as if one past Spider-Man is not enough, which MJ doubles down on.
Yeah, I guess you just keep doing it until we find the real one.
Ouch.
Now, when Andrew hops down from the ceiling, the sling ring portal has now pivoted to face him, turning on its axis from the direction it was facing before, just showing how Ned opened this portal in order to find Peter, and so Peter is how the portal orients itself in the room. Then,
neat.
Great, it's just some random guy.
Yes, the music is Danny Elfman's Spider-Man theme. And after teaching Peter some critical lessons about dealing with his grief, the three Peters rally to engineer some cures.
Okay, so, Connors, Marco, Dylan, and,
Yes, he cannot bring himself to say Osborn's name because deep down he doesn't want to cure him yet, which Tobey double checks.
I think I can make an anti-serum for Dr. Osborn. Been thinking about it a long time. Gotta cure all of them, right?
I also like the implication that Tobey has been losing sleep over wishing he could have cured Osborn over all these years instead of watching him die. And when Tobey talks about Harry Osborn, watch Andrew here.
Do you have a best friend too?
Yeah, I've always noticed that.
You did?
He died in my arms after he tried to kill me.
Andrew goes from pity for Tobey's friend dying in his arms to surprise and empathy for his Harry also trying to kill him.
He's just always trying to take attention away, isn't he, that Andrew Garfield? Always just so living in the character.
He's the guy on Twitter writing all the Make TASM 3 hashtags. He's this whole time just trying to get back on screen.
And we get the meme.
Peter!
Yeah? Oh, sorry. Did you mean?
Yeah, they all point at each other, which even the movie script directs as memes. When Tobey webs his stool, notice he still has his scars on his wrist from the Raimi films. And again, Andrew's reaction is the best.
You can't do that, huh?
No?
How on earth does that even?
Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Look, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, it takes him a solid beat for Andrew to finally take his eyes off that scar. Andrew cracks Tobey's back, less deadly than when he did it to Gwen. Reference fighting Venom in Spider-Man 3, and Thanos and Rhino in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Tobey says,
But it's just the self-talk. Maybe we should, you know,
listen,
because you're amazing. Just to take it in for a minute.
Yeah, I can take it in. No, I can take it in.
You are amazing.
Then Electro appears, and the bolts form the shape of Electro's classic mask from the comics on his face. You actually see this shape again later when he's zapping Andrew. Ned is unable to close his portal, and that might be because the other 2 times he opened the portal, the purpose he was seeking to find Peter was met, so those portals closed on their own. But now, Ned's real purpose deep down is to help this battle. He can't take his mind off the battle and allow that portal to close. At first, the 3 Peters...
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Yeah, it does. That clears up a lot.
Webs Tobey in the face.
Magic is mental.
Gross. Yeah, Tobey says gross, despite Andrew's webbing being artificial, unlike his webbing that comes out of his body. Tom says,
I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
Wait, you don't have the Avengers? Is that a band? Are you the band?
calling back how Bruce compared the Avengers to the Beatles in Infinity War.
Broke up? Like a band? Like the Beatles?
And then when they leap, each Peter's jump is unique to his respective era. Tobey does a double front flip, Tom does a frog pose. And
that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Jesus, so beautiful.
Does an under the legs thwip as he would do in his movies. And then Tom turns around to web his 2 brothers to sling them along with him. And when he does this, he uses the side roll move that Cap did when he was fighting Peter.
Oh, shit! Yes! Nice. I never thought of that.
Eras. Tobey first, Andrew second, Tom third. Now during the battle, Andrew webs up the lizard to restrain him, but it takes a while for the lizard to break out of it, compared to the 2012 movie when Lizard was able to tear out of the webbing seconds later. Might be showing how Andrew spent these years strengthening his webbing after, you know.
There you go.
Lizard attacks MJ and Ned in the classroom, recalling his fight with Andrew in the high school in the 2012 film. Doc Ock is able to restrain Electro since his claws were designed to be impervious to energy spikes. And then after, notice how Tobey is holding his chest, because unlike Andrew, his suit was not designed to be shockproof. Ned finally brings Doctor Strange back.
I've been dangling over the Grand Canyon for 12 hours.
I know.
In a way, this is a bit of payback for Strange making Loki free fall for a half hour in Ragnarok.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
Goblin shouts,
Can the Spider-Man come out to play?
Calling back his line in the 2002 film,
Can Spider-Man come out to play?
Now when Strange lassos the box and pulls it away, you can see Goblin with both hands on the box smiling because he just slipped in that pumpkin bomb. He cuts one of Doc Ock's arms and leaves them with... The explosion causes MJ to fall from the scaffolding, framing her just like Gwen's death drop, except here turned on the side. And Andrew retakes the plunge, except this time he focuses more on the lid instead of on his
Get me emotional again. Jesus Christ. Even in this form.
As Peter fights Norman on that shield, he leaps up at one point and punches down, denting the metal, which totally would have caved in his skull.
That always stuck with me.
To stab him with it the same way Goblin died in the 2002 film, but also evoking Cap bringing down the shield on Tony in Civil War. A parallel that's even more obvious since they are fighting upon Cap's shield. But Tobey stops Tom from killing Goblin. No words, just doesn't want the kid to grow rageful and bitter. But Goblin stabs him, and Tom literally turns his body from one side to the other. He was in killing mode, but now he turns the cheek. Andrew sees this and assists them with the serum.
Hey, nice catch. Nice throw.
Tobey's okay, saying,
Yeah, I'm good. I've been stabbed.
Oh, God.
referring when Harry Osborn stabbed him in the Raimi films. Purple cracks in the sky open up. I've broken this down before, but the visible silhouettes include Madam Web getting her own movie, the Superior Spider-Man armor with multiple arms, Kraven the Hunter getting his own movie, Scorpion, the original comics form, Black Cat, and then later Rhino, and then I figure everyone keeps calling Mysterio based off of the head, but I don't think so. This guy walks with more of a timid step and has a slender build. I think this is actually Miles Morales. Peter tells Strange to go through.
Looks more like him in
and they
clear
say
form.
goodbye to each other.
Thank you, sir.
Call me Steven.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah. still feels weird.
Calling back their banter, of course, earlier in this movie, but also the very first time they met in Infinity War and joked about their real names.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. I'm Spider-Man then.
Peter hugs the other Peters.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
A hug that was improvised by Tom Holland to thank these past 2 eras of Spider-Man. So after the spell goes through, Peter returns to the Peter Pan Donut Shop, a name with greater significance now for a Peter who has to watch others through a window living their lives without him. MJ.
Oh wow, yeah, that's very true.
Who must now grow up.
I suppose this is meant to be the film's Stan Lee cameo, but really just to make us do a double take and evoke deja vu the way MJ feels in this scene. The script also states that MJ is meant to watch Peter go with, quote, a lingering sense of recognition? This, plus the fact that she is still wearing that broken Black Dahlia necklace, tells us that some part of her still remembers Peter.
Or she likes the necklace.
Which could be a nod to Tony Stark always questioning how young she really is back in Civil War. And the quote reads, when you help someone, you help everyone, which is actually what is written on her grave in the Spider-Man PS4 game. In the epilogue, Peter moves into a new apartment.
Rent is due on the 1st of the month. Don't be late.
Yes, his squalor apartment evokes Peter's crappy flat in the Raimi films, and while the landlord's voice is not Mr. Ditkovich, the fact that he reminds Peter of the rent is definitely meant to remind us of that guy. We see that Peter is studying for the GED, meaning Peter's academic records must have been wiped or warped, since if you think about it, much of his Midtown High identity was really wrapped up in his Spider-Man identity at this point. I did do another video breaking down how exactly reality was warped and who remembers what. I highly recommend you check it out. On Peter's table is the "We are happy to serve you" cup that MJ gave Peter in the cafe, and by the way, that coffee cup is just a generic New York area coffee cup that appears in productions of literally everything shot in that city. It's not a reference.
They exist in real life.
This cup is in everything. It's like saying a red
I saw
Solo
one
cup
just the other day.
But what is the cool detail? Peter has that Lego Palpatine figurine, which was the first line we heard spoken by Ned in this trilogy in Homecoming. And Peter has a new suit that he had stitched together, DIY, finally, without having Avengers to build his tech for him. And design-wise, it's made of a brighter fabric, clearly inspired by the designs of the other 2 Spider-Men. Actually, the closing credits show his sketches of a new logo as he swings through Rockefeller Center, failing to make a cameo in the final battle of Hawkeye. We get this awesome closing frame, almost a jump scare, because he zooms in right in on our faces, giving us an extreme close-up of his new mask. But up close like this, we can see it is textured in a porous fabric. Gone are those mechanical eyepieces. This is just a cloth mask, giving us a new beginning, a fresh start. Woo, baby! That is everything I spotted in this high-res digital release of No Way Home, but folks, there is still the 4K version coming next month. And there's gonna be a lot of deleted scenes, commentary, lots of bonus footage. There's gonna be a lot to talk about.
600 missed details.
Again. So be sure to subscribe to New Rockstars. You can follow me on Instagram.
Break down the post-credit scene.
Lots of great designs to support this channel directly. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
What did you notice in the Venom scene?
Yeah, and how did it tie into when he was supposed to be at the Statue of Liberty?
Was that guy really Mexican?
Is that guy the same guy from Ted Lasso? Daniel Rojas.
New Rockstars, you crazy sons of bitches. Thanks for putting this together. Eric Voss, you are the boss.
Boss Voss.
Boss Voss. Haven't called you that in a while. King Ping. Anyway, King Voss. That was good. That was epic, man. That was seriously epic. Congratulations.
Top-notch work.
A lot of work from all you editors. Eric, you're all beautiful people. So how do you mother for me?